Growing up in a poor upstate New York mill town, Dexter and Bertie Yager knew that greater opportunities had to be available. And in 1964, they seized that opportunity. They began to develop what would become one of the largest networking organizations of its kind in the world, with hundreds of thousands of distributors in their organization. They have shared the stage with such greats as Oliver North, Ronald Reagan, and George Bush, and have been featured on CBS's 60 Minutes, in USA Today, and Success Magazine. Dexter is the co-founder of the Washington Charity Dinner, and in 1985, he received the Humanitarian of the Year award at that dinner. He is also the first to receive the Multi-Level Marketing Lifetime Achievement Award. Like most great achievers, the Yager success did not happen overnight. Through all of their trials, however, they never, ever considered quitting their network marketing business. As Dexter says, the difference between winners and losers is that a winner will continue to learn and never quit, while a loser already knows all the answers and will soon give up. Today, as the Yagers share their hearts and teach their pattern, they also continue to learn, and in return, share that knowledge as their business continues to flourish.
You wouldn't be here. All the diamonds up here on the stage wouldn't be here. And for sure, Nancy and I wouldn't be here. I'm not sure where we would be without this man. Without any further to do. Come on. Let's let him know that we appreciate and love him. Everybody's daddy, proud ambassador, Dexter Yager.
Thank you. Good to be here tonight. Good-looking group of diamonds, isn't it? This is just the beginning of what's going to be coming your way. This group of diamonds is just the beginning. As we build this business day by day, step by step, our goals change and our dreams change. But if there's one thing, if you're going to be very successful in this business, you got to get focused on something that you want to accomplish and stay focused on it. If there probably is one major point that I could point out that made the difference in our business, that would probably be that I knew this was our only hope and that we were going all the way with it. However long it takes, we're going as far as we can. However much time we got, we're going as far as we can. See, you just never understand the quitters. You just never understand them. The only explanation I can tell you about the quitters is they didn't understand what they're in. Regardless what level they are, when they quit, they just don't know what they have in their hands. They're immature people as far as business is concerned. You know, if you listen to George Foreman, he told you that, didn't he? If you listen to Dan Quayle, he told you that. You listen to Smothers Brothers, they told you that. We've had a lot of neat people here this weekend. My job is to give you the best show on a weekend like this that you've ever been to. My job on a daily basis is to tell your upline you can do it. We believe in you. My job is to find talent wherever it's at. We got to give it everything we got. Well, you know, I knew that when I got in the business, that I never knew who I was talking to. I never knew whether I was talking to a guy who's going to be an alcoholic and a bum, and he's sitting on the front row, or whether a guy has been an alcoholic and a bum and he's going to quit tonight, and he's going to become a man, and he's going to change his world. I don't know. So I know I've got to give my best every time I show that plan. I got to pour love out. I got to pour the dream out. I got to pour that dream and that dream and that dream. You know, I guess I got a lot of experience previous to Amway that some of you haven't gotten until you got in Amway. You know, it's like when I sold cars, I was 100% commission. And we set up appointments for people to meet me at the dealership. And probably 3 out of 4 appointments is set up, never came back. And I found out through a period of years, if I could set the appointment up at their home, my odds went way up. I always found out that there was a solution to every problem. You don't focus on the problem, you focus on the solution. You figure the answer out. You make things happen because they don't just happen. When Bertie and I got in the business, there was no great success to tell about. A guy named Russ Bingham came over and drew circles on a little piece of paper for me. I had no respect for the kid. He'd been in trouble. He'd been in jail. But you know, the circles made sense. And Bertie and I were customers in using the product. And this is the first person that took time to show us the plan. And we signed up. And then I went out and helped Russ sponsor another one that night. But typical Russ, short time later, Russ quit. Russ been quitting stuff all his life. I saw him a few months ago. He'd gotten in Amway and recently quit again. His habits are the habits of failures. He doesn't understand why he doesn't succeed. Nothing he seems to do works because he doesn't have any holding power. No sticking power. Holding power. You got to stay focused on your goal and your dream. It's not a matter of whether you make it tonight or this week or next month or 6 months or a year. When I was talking to these Smothers Brothers and back, and I always confuse them. I know the dark-haired is the younger one. He's 54. He's my age. I'm 53. He graduated in 1957. The other one graduated in 55. And we were talking in the back, and Tom was saying, I used to be able to do that, throw it up and catch it in my pocket. 1 out of 3 times I'd get it. He said, then I got good, I got 1 out of 2. 50% of the time I always get it. He said, tonight I was bad. He says, it took me 3 times. I said, we didn't know that. We thought that was part of the act. See, and that's part of the thing of being a professional. A professional knows how to handle mistakes and make them look like part of the act. How to make things look right when they don't turn out right. It's not what happens. It's how you handle it when it happens. You got to learn to be an overcomer. You got to learn to be an overcomer. You know, Bertie and I just got back from a fabulous trip, and a lot of you heard about it on your inboxes. And you know, it's nice. 2 weeks ago, we finished up Pre-Enterprise Day in Charlotte, or in Atlanta. I'm always saying Charlotte, but it's in Atlanta. We had 75,000 people come out. Largest sales convention ever held in the world. We got news media. We were over in France 2 weeks ago, in Germany, and they said, wow, it's all across the news here about your function in Atlanta. It went worldwide. Went worldwide. You know what's really funny? I can think back. I mentioned in Atlanta, about 25 years ago, when we moved to Charlotte, I remember talking about, we're going to fill the Charlotte Coliseum. We were told it held 15,000. It only held about 12,000. About as big as our overflow building over here. But I'll never forget standing in front of a couple hundred of my distributors at a big meeting saying, we're going to fill the Charlotte Coliseum. And most of my leaders laughed at me to my face. I'll tell you, don't laugh at me to my face. Do yourself a favor. There's some people you laugh out of things. Putting me down only makes me mad enough to whip your butt. The guys always kid me, the diamonds that hang around with me quite a bit. We get playing checkers or something, and they say, don't beat Dexter, because he'll play all night to whip you. And you know, I just don't know how to lose. I refuse to lose. I don't believe in losing. Losing's not something in my vocabulary. When you're out there working to succeed, you got to go for the dream. You got to go for the goal. The obstacles are just something temporarily blocking you that you got to move. Maybe because I grew up in upstate New York, we had snowstorms. Sometimes the snow be that high. I knew if it snowed, I had to get up every morning and shovel the driveway so my dad could go to work. I knew I had to get home and shovel the driveway before he came home. It didn't matter if the plow came by 3 times. I better be out there and clean that driveway out. My folks never accepted, I don't feel well or I can't do it. It's got to be done. It's got to be done. My dad never raised his voice at me. He just had to look at me. You see that eye that said, shape up or ship out. My dad was a man, a real man. The type guy that set the example. He'd be at work 8 o'clock in the morning as a plumber. And maybe at midnight, that same night, I'd be out cleaning fittings with him. He raised 5 kids. He liked to hunt. He liked to fish. He liked to bowl. He wanted a nice home and he wanted a new car. And he did whatever it took to have those things and do those things. And he let us kids know if we wanted nice clothes, we could have them. All we had to do was get the money ourselves. Go earn it. Earn it. Today we bring up a society that is so acceptable to helping those that won't work. Because so many parents have given their kids so much, the kids don't know how the system works. The system only works when you and I work. Whether it's Amway or it's America, we got to get out and make something happen. It's up to us, gang. There has never been a system in the history of the world that has ever continued to work when they finally figured out that the majority could live off the efforts of the minority. And that's what more government is. Our job is to go out and teach people the truth of life. That if you want something, we'll help you get it, but you gotta get it. I'll help you get it, but you gotta learn to earn. You gotta dream. You know, so many of the old-time beliefs you see wiped out over and over and over. I remember back when I sold cars years ago. Somebody'd come in, I'd prospect the guy I believed everybody was going to buy. Same as when I show the plan, I believe everybody's getting in. When you believe they're getting in, it's hard for them to say no. When you keep telling them all the things we're going to do together and the place we're going to go together and that you want them to be your friend, and you want to be on the beaches of the world with them and how special they are, they're going to want to get in with you. But you know what happens with most people? They sell the plan good. And then they say, well, why do so many people quit? Well, one reason a lot of people quit, because people sell so hard, they don't back up their sales part. Well, they get to know the guy, and he's not as good as he looked. Well, let's get him as good as he looked. One thing I can tell you about whether it's my kids, or it's my friends, or it's my group, my son Jeff will say, Dad always tells everybody we do more than we do. We don't do all that he says. He says, but after we hear him say it, we have to. We don't want to embarrass him. Well, you know, that's part of the program. Keep telling people how great they can be and how much you love them. Show them you believe in them. But never get too proud of them. I don't ever want to get so proud of you that you have arrived. We're all on the road to success. None of us have arrived. To me, when I look at arrival and success, that's the coffin. That's when it's over. Live people are always on the way to success. There's never an end of the road. There may be temporary rest stops, but you don't rest too long. You keep going and going and going and going. You know, people say, are you tired, Dex? They ask me all kinds, how you feeling? I don't stop and think how I feel. I never have time to stop and think how I feel. Thinking how I feel don't make me any better. Thinking whether I'm tired or not only makes me tired. I don't need to be tired when I don't have the time to be tired. I got to give it my all the time. You succeed by the habits you develop. You know, I picked up something several months ago, and this was in a little article, USA Today. Winners at losing, hats off to those who try and try again. Fail with finesse, the world cheers, but whine and groan in an unforgiving world will turn its back. And the article goes on, it talks about all the people. Maybe we have a TV show and 20 years they've been nominated and never won. Baseball players, 2 years without winning. People that never give up. I could stand here tonight and read you a book and tell you about a man that's probably one of the largest and biggest failures in America. One of the biggest failures in America. This failure list was so big, most people would have quit halfway through. But he was also one of the greatest presidents we ever had, Abraham Lincoln. Because he wouldn't quit. He wouldn't quit. What makes the difference between a winner and a loser? A winner will learn and never quit. A loser knows all the answers and quits. Really pretty much that simple. You know, we have these personality books out, and I believe in them. They're great. The only problem is some people open up the book and they say, oh, look at this, I'm a sanguine. Well, I do that because I'm a sanguine. I do this because I'm a sanguine. Baloney. You do that because you want to hide behind being a sanguine. I'm going to tell you, folks, if you were working for me on a job, you will do the job the way you're supposed to do it regardless of what your personality is. You will change your personality to get the job. What do you think college is? People go to college and they change so they can advance. Isn't that right? I guess that's the part that sometimes bothers me when people hide behind some personality type. That's the personality type we decided to develop. Personality is a decision. As much as you take a little baby boy, bring it up around nothing but women, and it'll have women's movements. Because that's all that it saw, and that's all that it could mimic. Now, if you want your kids to be wimps, be a wimp. You want them to be leaders, be a leader. When we bring our business into our home, our kids start seeing how business works. They start understanding. They start learning leadership. The first part of leadership is taking on responsibility. And I learned with my kids, the more responsibility I gave them, the more they accepted and the better they became. Winners never quit and quitters never win. If you really want to be a winner, that's a decision. It's a decision. You got to get the biggest bang out of life you can. You got to take advantage of what happens. Winning is a decision. Can you say that? Winning is a decision. Whose decision? My decision. Winning is my decision. What? Winning is my decision. See, the problem with most people in the world, they run around and, oh, I'm in Amway, boy, this is really great. The first 3 people they talk to says, what makes you think you can sell anything? Whoever told you that you'd be rich someday? Are you kidding? Then you got to refocus your mind. Am I going to let them control me? Or am I going to be in control? The majority of the people in the world today are out of control. You know, when I got in this business, I had no political beliefs. I had none. I was probably pretty darn liberal. You know what changes your political beliefs? Drawing circles. The more you draw circles, and you're out there finding what's on welfare and laughing at you, the more mad you get about welfare. The more you're out there and you're drawing circles and somebody says, well, I fell down 6 years ago and I'm getting a Social Security check and I can't get in because I'm not going to give up my Social Security check. The more you get mad about some of those things. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, the guy that didn't vote is voting. And he's voting the way he thinks now, not the way he thought when he got in. It's the same thing. When you first get in this, you're saying, well, I believe it's going to work. Then you get a little stronger, and the more you're out there and the more people laugh at you, the more you do one of two things. The more you either start dodging the bullets or you start saying, hey, man, you're looking at Superman. These things bounce off. Watch out, one will come back and get you. Because I know where my power comes from. Because you pray and you believe and you work and you believe and you pray and you believe. See, when I was 23 years old, I hadn't accomplished any of the things I thought I would accomplish by then. So I got down on my hands and knees and I started saying, God, give me a chance to have my own business. Show me a way I can have my own business. Give me a chance. I looked in the paper every night for an opportunity. Everything that was there cost more money than I could dream of getting. When our next door neighbor started selling us Amway, he said, you ought to get in. He explained all these Amway terms I never heard of. Never showed me the plan. I thought, I don't want to be a Mickey Mouse full of brush man like him. Then we went up to visit my sister-in-law at the hospital. She was having a kid. And her brother-in-law says, Dexter, you ought to get in Amway. You'll make $1 million. I laughed him right out. $1 million? Peddling soap? Who are you kidding? I'm in sales. You ain't going to make it being a Mickey Mouse full of brush man. Well, that's where most people are. I was a customer. We loved the products. I was selling several $100s worth of the product a month for the guy down the street because we loved the product so much. When I'm enthused about something, everybody finds out about it. That's right. Anybody knows me, man. If I find the guy that treats you right on cars, I introduce him to all my friends. If I find a jeweler that takes good care of you, I introduce him to all my friends. If I find somebody that sells suits and gives you a good deal and good quality, I introduce him to all my friends. I always have, all my life. I believe in sharing and sharing and sharing. If I find a furniture store that you can buy just that much above cost, you'll all meet them. I've always done that. So when I saw this product, Bertie and I shared it with our family and our friends. Because it was good stuff. Didn't want to sell it. Just sharing. But nobody ever showed us the plan. See, so most of these people out there that think they know all about Amway, they haven't seen the plan. And I learned after a while, when you grow up in upstate New York, man, some of the people can be rough. They can be rough. I remember going out there and showing the plan night after night after night, and I always told people how old I was, what I was doing for a living, how many kids we had. Every night somebody would come up after the meeting and say, what are you, Catholic or an oversexed Protestant? First dozen times I said, why do you say that? I'm showing a business plan. You're going to be ridiculed no matter what. If you don't have any kids, you'll be put down like something's wrong with you. And if you have a bunch of kids, you'll be put down like something's wrong with you. So just accept people will put you down like something's wrong with you, and that's just a sign there's something wrong with them. Accept it and go on. When Bertie and I got into business, November 1st, 1964, people say, did you ever think it'd get this big? When? When? When do you want to know, did we ever think it'd get this big? We never planned it to be this big. 28 years ago. Now, at this meeting, we've been planning for it to be this big. We thought Atlanta was going to have 5,000 more. And we will next year. People ask me, how does it feel to be this successful and this and that and all kinds of stuff? I don't think about that stuff. All I think about is what I got to do. I got this to do and this to do and this to do and this to do. So you go do what you got to do, and then all of a sudden, you look and say, God, I'm driving 70,000 miles a year. I better get me a Cadillac. Better riding car. Whoops, I need a coach. Whoops, I need this. Whoops, I need that. The majority of the things we bought, we needed. We weren't showing off. Just after you need a whole lot of stuff, it looks like you're showing off. The people laugh at you. You know, I remember the days that I'd go to a meeting and some friend would laugh at me. I'd get in my car and I'd be nice to him. You always got to be nice. I'll tell you why you got to be nice. Number one, they don't know what they're laughing at. And if they do, they're really dumb. You got to be nice to dumb people. The other reason is they may wake up someday. And you don't want somebody else to sponsor them because you were mean. My folks taught me to be a servant. That's to be nice to everybody. All the time. When I was a kid in school, you couldn't pick a fight with me until you started hitting. You couldn't insult me enough to get me in a fight. You had to start hitting me. Now, after I got a few blows, boom, 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 I'd say, this is starting to hurt. I better do something. But I was not looking to start a fight. Not looking to be in a fight. I try to ignore every way possible. But like the school bully told me at our 25th year class reunion, hey, Yager, the only thing ever impressed me about you was you were the only kid in school that had enough guts to stand up to me. That's the first part of impressing some of your friends, is that you got enough guts to put up with their laughter. That's the first sign of success, when they start seeing you have some backbone. It makes the difference having a backbone. And the people that ask you, how much money are you making, and you've been in it 6 months, they're a little stupid. You got to love them. They're a little retarded. They don't understand business. They don't understand business. See, you got to stop and understand. Anybody that understands business, any kind of business, knows it takes 5 years for the average business to start bringing out money. You're not making a profit to 5 years. And so for people in this business today, if you've been in it 5 years, the money you're making now is from efforts you did 5 years ago. Whatever you're making in between is just like a little bit of sweat. Not a lot of money. I make pretty good money today. I'll know how much it is when I get paid 5 years from now. I'm always earning 5 years later income. It's the way business is. Most people don't understand that. When people say, how much are you making? And you've been in this business a short period of time, you're talking to job mentality. People are used to going to work for the week for a paycheck. So much an hour or so much a week. They don't understand business. So don't expect them to. Try to simplify this and explain it. Say, look, My wife and I are building our business future. You have to invest like you do in college or anything else to develop yourself. There's two things that are going to happen. I'm going to develop a business, and I'm going to develop my wife and I. We're going to be better, stronger people. And we're going to have a business, and we're going to make more money. Now, those are the results we're looking for. Now, along the line, we know we're also going to develop a lot of great friendships. And today I put more value on my friendships and relationships than all the money that I make. Because all the money in the world with no friends would be terrible. It would be terrible. What should you dream of? What should your dream be? Something bigger than where you're at. Don't worry about whether your dream is too small or not. If you have to stretch, that's a dream. Bertie and I started with big dreams for two kids on the alley. And then the dreams got bigger and bigger and bigger. But see, dreams are like the gas in a tank. You're not going anyplace when that tank reads empty. And when your dream tank is empty, you just lost your energy and your power. You got to have a reason why you're performing. So parts of my dream tank has been because I love my wife and I want to deserve her. I want her proud of me. Because I want my kids proud of me. Because I want my friends proud of me, and I want me proud of me. And I want a better lifestyle. The first goal, the very first goal I had, which was more important than anything else, was I want to make enough money so I don't ever have to work for anybody else again. And I quit my job. I quit my job the first week in January 1965, and I've been unemployed ever since. In all the jobs that I ever had, people told me, you got such secure jobs, this job secure, that job secure. Every one of those, while I've been building my Amway business, went through a major slump or went out of business or totally reversed themselves. Nothing else would have held up as well as this. You know, we look back. The little things. The little things. I remember when I sold cars, I had a policy. If Jerry Bogus walked in on my dealership, I didn't look at Jerry, the way he was dressed or anything. It's amazing how many guys pre-program people. I remember one time, I had this guy come in, he had a plaid wool shirt on, dirty Levi's, sawdust in his hair, and it wasn't my turn up. And one of the older salesmen said, Dexter, you can have this one, I'll take the next one. He was taking advantage of me. He was giving me the dog. You know what? I said, okay. I went out, guy was driving a 56 Chevrolet 4-door hardtop, V8, automatic, all the equipment on. His name was Les Miller. I talked to him a little bit. I said, you have this car long? He said, I bought it new. I said, you owe much on it? Those are my first two qualifying questions all the time. I paid cash for it. I said, what are you looking at? He said, I like that T-Bird in on the floor. I said, come on in. And we wheeled that T-Bird off the floor and I had him test drive it. I was a new salesman at that time. The salesman on duty was telling the boss to like, you know what he's doing? He's taking the car off the showroom floor. Well, it was too late. I'd already done it. They were going to talk to me about not doing that again. Except for when we got all through, Les pulled the cash out and he bought the car. See, He bought the car. I'm going to tell you something along the line. 9 out of 10 car dealerships today are not just selling a lot of cars for the simple reason they don't take the time. I've sold more cars and more homes and more watches and more diamond rings and more suits and everything for all these people, and I haven't made a nickel on it, than what the people in those businesses are doing. Because I know how to move merchandise. The first thing you do, somebody walks in my car lot, I'm going to take them for a test drive. I'm going to ask them a few questions, and if they pass the qualification questions that I know they can afford the car, they're driving it home tonight. They'll drive my demo. My demo was not for me to ride around in all the time. It was keeping somebody else's driveway. I knew if I could get my demo out in your driveway and you were measuring it up and you were riding it, when you got back at the car dealership and you got in your car to drive it home, you'd go like, boy, it didn't feel this bad before. I'd put you in a mood where you had to have it. You know, I've had more people that I sponsored in this business, and we'd be headed to a meeting, and we're going 50 or 100 miles away, and they're going off someplace else after, so we're driving both cars, and they got an old clunker, and I had a new Cadillac, and I'd say, look, I got a squeak in my car. Why don't you drive it? See if you can find it. I can't find it. I'll drive your car. Well, you know, they drive that Caddy of mine for 100 miles. They never liked Cadillacs before. Next thing you know, they want one. They gotta have one. They gotta have one. See, because I stayed focused on not me having a luxury ride, but me having the luxury distributor. Okay? Being the servant, letting them have the nice ride while I drove the junk. The more I drove that car, guess what? The more I knew that they needed this business. It's amazing. I've looked at more cars, gone in more car dealerships where people knew who I was. And it's amazing how many times they'll put a salesman in the car, you want to drive it around the block. It's the way it is today. Drive it around the block. You don't drive it long enough to fall in love with it. No wonder the car business has problems. I was down in the Cadillac garage about a month ago. I was looking at New Seville, and the general manager says, Dexter, you want to drive that one? Yeah, I'll take it for a ride. Next thing you know, he's taking it home. Day and a half later, I brought it back. We cut a deal, and I had one going home out of the yard that night. I had bought one because I had gotten used to it. Now I had to have what he'd loaned me. See, that's the key to success. We've got to stretch people's mind. The average person's living in this little home, driving this little car, and they're not going to advance until somebody takes them into new homes to stretch them and get them dreaming. Takes them out in new cars to get them dreaming. Take them out boat riding to get them dreaming. And take them back over and over and over and over and over again till we get them believing that they ought to have that. A lot of people look at me and say, Dexter, if I were where you are, I understand. Well, I'm going to tell you something, folks. I didn't start out here. A little over 20 years ago, we had our first Free Enterprise Day. My outside speaker was a guy named Charlie Tremendous Jones. I had three emeralds, a single emerald gal. I had a emerald who was a banker who had walked on his hands up into his teens. He's had like 19 operations. He'd bounced on a tire tube or walked on his hands because he had such a bad case of club feet. Like 19 operations before he ever walked on them. His chest was built. His arms were like legs. His hand, you grabbed it, was like grabbing a foot. He used what he had. He did what he had to do. And the third one was a guy named Quentin Parker. A guy who had his face blown off when he fell on a landmine in Korea. Quentin always used to say his eyes were sewed on. See, they put some kind of eye in there and sewed them open. And his face was all scarred and his fingers were half missing. First time you ever looked at him, he was the ugliest guy you ever saw. And then after you got to know him, you forgot about how he looked. And you listened to him. I remember Quentin saying, problem with so many people out there, I'm blind and I see better than they do. They can't see this plan with eyes. Vision is what makes a difference, folks. You got to have vision of something more. You got to be willing to go for something, and you can't go for it if you can't see it. So you just got to see a little further down the road, and a little further down the road, a little further down the road. And sometimes building this business is like driving in a bad snowstorm. You might be following taillights at 5 miles an hour until you finally get to where you can kick it back up to 55 or 60. But you keep going and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. You never, never, never quit. Back our first Free Enterprise Day, we had some directs do the singing. When you look at what's here today, 1 hour of our program this weekend is more than I ever dreamed of having my first Free Enterprise Day for the whole weekend. What you can see and what you can have will be so much more than what Bertie and I ever dreamt of. But you got to go for it. You got to focus on something that's worth going after. And you got to stay focused, and you got to keep going, 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 and you got to keep believing, and you got to keep believing. You can never, ever, 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 ever stop going for the goal. You got to stay focused. You got to keep believing. You got to keep dreaming. I'm going to get out of here. Tomorrow morning we'll see you here. You that like to come to the Sunday service, Billy Zioli and Ron Ball and a whole lot of other things are going to be here. It's going to be exciting. We want you to come join us. Join us for a lifetime of success. It's in your hands. God bless you.
While the techniques and approaches suggested have worked for others, no one can guarantee that these techniques and approaches will work for you. We hope, however, that the ideas presented here will assist you in developing a strong and profitable business. This is a copyrighted program of Internet Services Corporation. Unauthorized reproduction of this tape is prohibited. Purchase of this tape is optional.